PPIRevents.com. PPIR, professional people in real estate.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I've said it many times, Robin. We speak to authors all the time, right? Mm-hmm. My favorite book, I think, is the biography. I just love learning about people. I think there's something that is, first of all, unique, and second of all, common when you read a story about somebody's life, right? Mm-hmm. There's a uniqueness because obviously each of us has a different face and a different life and different circumstances, but then there's something common too. We all seem to have the same ups and downs, or similar ups and downs, right? The similar trials and tribulations and triumphs, etc. Maybe some have more than others. So when I found out we were going to speak to Mary Bogest about Dave Phillips, Ambassador Stanley Davis Dave Phillips, I'm looking at his full name here, I didn't realize he was going to be on the phone with us as well. So it's unusual. So it's an amazing treat for me to be able not only to speak about a biography, but actually have the subject of the biography on the phone. Mary Bogest is an artist and an award-winning author, and Ambassador Stanley Davis Dave Phillips is on the phone as well. And he's got so many credentials. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Good morning to both of you, Dave and Mary. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you both? Are you in the same place?
Yes, we're at Dave's house in High Point, North Carolina.
In High Point, North Carolina. How's the weather there today?
Rainy. Lots of rain.
You know, here in Florida, it's beautiful. I don't know if you want to come down.
Yes, can we?
So how do you know each other? How do you know each other?
Well, I write a column here for our local newspaper, and it's widely read. And so I have known Dave for, many years, several years, and I first met him when after he was appointed ambassador to Estonia, and I attended the reception that our Chamber of Commerce gave to him, for him when he went there, and I had never met a United States ambassador before, so I was very excited, and we talked then. He doesn't remember that we talked then, but I won't forget that. I quit kidding him about that. So 2 years later, then we met up again, but that's how I first actually met him. But I knew of him, of course, everybody knew of him because he had done so much for our city and our state, and he's very well, and for our furniture market, because High Point, North Carolina, as everyone or many people know, is the furniture capital of the world. And we just recently had our furniture market here, for our international furniture market here. And so anyway, that's how I knew Dave.
So I mentioned in the intro that I'm a fan of biographies, and one of the things that a good biography always has is the childhood of the person, because the childhood gives us, the readers, an understanding, because everything about our childhood sets us up for the rest of our lives. Did that happen? I mean, your subject is sitting with you. I don't know who to ask. So did you?
Yeah, well, we're both. Well, what he won't tell you, I will, so it doesn't. And we did the book. We sat face to face. So, but you can ask me.
Well, let me ask you. I have a way to ask you this question. I just thought of a way, Mary. When you were asking Dave questions, especially about his, especially about his youth, because from what I read of the book so far, it looks like his youth really had a lot to do with the person he became as an adult. But what was he reluctant? Like, it's almost like people are shy to tell you about their accomplishments. Did that happen in his interviews with you?
Well, I'll tell you, he was reluctant to tell me about his accomplishments, but he was even more reluctant to tell me about some of the trouble he got into, which are some of the funnier stories in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right. So, well, you know what?
I had to kind of pull those out of him because he is really, a United States ambassador, highly regarded. He was the Secretary of Commerce and all this,
Dave.
And his entrepreneurism and all this. A successful businessman and took 3 companies to the New York Stock Exchange. But in the meantime, when he was at school, and he got, by the way, too, he also received, when he went to school in Connecticut to Choate, which is now Choate Rosemary Hall, he received their highest honor, which the Choate Seal. He had received that, which was first awarded to John F. Kennedy. He also received that.
Nice.
So he was reluctant to tell me some of the trouble he got into.
Okay, I want to talk
not a teenager.
All right, I want to talk to Dave about the trouble.
I kind of had to pull that out of him and say, all
right, Dave.
Readers would love to hear about that. They don't want to know that you were always goody-goody.
Yeah. No, we don't want to
know that you got into trouble, too, just like they did.
We absolutely do. So, Dave, I have something I want to share with you, and then I want you to respond to this. When we read your biography, and we find out that you were normal, you did not stay away from some trouble, it actually helps the rest of us, because we say, well,
that's right.
I can remember when I got fired from a job, my father said to me, you know what, I got fired from a job one time. And I thought, well, that makes it so much better. No, because you always think that people who have done well never did anything wrong. So I think it was a good thing that you fessed up.
Yeah, well, it took me...
I do too.
Yeah.
You might have said that. Because we're all human, and we've all had different situations happen to us. And so, I'm glad you picked up on that.
So tell me about your... do you have children, Dave?
I do. I have 4 daughters.
4 daughters? Are you a grandpa?
Yes, I am. I have 4 grandchildren.
Okay, so do you want them to know the things you did wrong?
Well, my daughters asked me when they said, Dad, they go, this is for the children want to pick up on all this stuff that you did this wrong or that wrong. I said, well, make it. They're humans. I don't want to hear gossip in school. Go ahead and tell them.
Yeah.
Well, and let me tell you, because maybe your listeners don't, I'll fill them in a little bit on your listeners, is that he was born with a deformed foot, and he was wearing a 6'6" shoe, wooden shoe.
What?
And so after several operations, the lower part of his leg was amputated. So he was fit with a prosthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, he endured bullying. And so when he went to Choate, he would use that, he would put that prosthetic to good use by hiding liquor in it. And among other things.
That's true.
Yeah. And what were you known as there? You were the procure, well, besides being
I was, Northern boarding school, and I was a rare Southerner. So once they found out that I had the blues in my leg, they called me the bootlegger.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Dave, reading your story with everything that goes on, you were widely respected between all parties when you were in the political realm. And, gosh, you just seem to be such a good negotiator.
Well, and I'll just put it, and then I'll give it to him. But, because he, again, you're right. It's a little hard for him to talk about himself in that regard. But you are absolutely right. And he has such a personable way about him. And when he steps into a room, he never looks at differences, and he greets every single person. And that was true in his business life and in his government life. And I want him to expound a little bit more about that for you. Will you do that, Dave?
I'll be glad to. I just think that it's people. It's we have in our political world different parties, and in business world you have competitors, in the social world. So it's the same everywhere. And I've always been a great believer in get to know your opposition. And I believe in learning their personality or really what's on their mind. So it's something that's it's always an attitude that I've had. And even when I went to Estonia as a U.S. ambassador, I set out to get to know all the other ambassadors in all the other countries, but also the Russian ambassador. And that there was an attack the day I arrived in Estonia, the attack of the cyber warfare. Well, it brought in NATO, and we all dealt with first cyber attack on a cyber nation. But from there, I spent a lot of time getting to know the Soviet ambassador, or the Russian ambassador, the Soviet Union had fallen. But anyway, I spent a lot of time with the Chinese ambassador. You spend time and you get to know it when it's not just a social thing, but you go out to lunch together and you talk. And that I think we showed up together at different functions in town. When the Russian orchestra came to Estonia, my wife and I went to and sat with him at the Bolshoi. So I mean, yeah, that's not only your job, but it's just fascinating.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Can I tell the story? I want to tell the story when you arrived in Estonia. When his wife, Kay, and him arrived in the plane in Estonia, and Kay said to the driver, they were met by a driver, and Kay said, to the driver, will you take us downtown in Tallinn and drive us around downtown a little bit, so before we go to the embassy or to the house? And the driver said, there's a little disturbance downtown, so we better, in Old Town, and we better not do that. And they said, a little disturbance is okay. And he says to her, ma'am, I think in your country we call it a riot. And that was the beginning of the disturbance between Russia at the beginning of the cyber war.
Oh my God.
And that's what led to Dave and the Russian ambassador of teaming up to become a united front for the Estonians and the Russians. And it really was a peacekeeping gesture. And it meant a lot.
Mm-hmm. I can see
and
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is the book called Come On, America? Tell me the story behind the title.
Well, it's a thing. It's a reference to Dave's belief in the beauty of the human spirit, and his belief that there are no enemies, and that we all believe in the same goals, and that we should love our neighbor, whether they're different than us or not, and that we should all come together for those goals, and that living in America, that we all should be very grateful for what we have, and there's no other country like America, that maybe, we might have a few hiccups here and there, but there's no other country like America. And so as we started sitting down and talking to Dave and I, as we worked through this book, and I saw his attitude as he worked for our state, our city, our state, mm-hmm. our country, and internationally, of how he cared about bringing everyone together wherever he was. That kind of seemed to become a theme.
Uh-huh. Dave, I have a question for you about the furniture business. Do you happen to be familiar with the name Robert Van Hoos?
I do. I have heard of that name, yes.
Yeah, he was with the Big Sandy
that was his
furniture outlet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Big Sandy? Wasn't they...
Well, High Point.
Say that again?
Well, I was going to sound like the Chamber of Commerce here. High Point is the largest exposition center for a product anywhere in the world. There's 11 million square feet in downtown High Point.
Wow.
That's 5 Empire State Buildings.
Wow.
It's incredible. And 80,000 people come here twice a year, and it's called the spring and the fall furniture market. And the population of our town is about 80,000. So, but it's been going on for decades. It's slowly built over time, and it's just a phenomenal. I mean, it's just the public can't get in, but they're where they buy their furniture. These pros come here from all over the world to sell their furniture and to buy furniture for their retail stores. So it's a phenomenon in our town.
And Dave, how did you keep from being bitter? Because you did have such adversity in your life growing up, and you are really an inspiration to a lot of people. How did you keep your good attitude?
Well, great question, because I was bullied a lot, but I did have this 6-inch built-up shoe, and I could use it as a weapon. I could fight my way out of a crowd. I could do that. So I slowly gained confidence. And but I mean, in the old days, when I still had 3 toes and my foot was sideways when I was younger and got kidded a lot. But you know, I was born with it. Therefore, it wasn't happening to me one morning waking up. I think of our soldiers and waking up next morning wounded in a hospital, lost their leg or whatever. But I grew up with mine. It was okay, and I was ready for the right time to have it amputated. So I think that helped.
No, wow.
Yeah, and he also was quarantined for several months with rheumatic fever. Yeah, so he had that to overcome. I mean, that on top of it was another challenge that he faced very young. So he couldn't be with his friends, and he always had lots of friends. I mean, he always had a great personality. So he always had lots of friends.
Tell us about your work with the Special Olympics.
I did. It's the most inspirational thing I've ever gotten involved in. I was the Secretary of Commerce for the state of North Carolina, and we were always looking for new jobs to come to North Carolina, and we traveled the nation and the world. And I heard from some folks that there's another opportunity that's out there. It's called World Games by Special Olympics. Well, I did totally understand it. My wife clearly explained to me what Special Olympics was. And they're in a lot of towns and obviously all over America, but they're all over the world. It's a phenomenal thing the Shrivers have done. So I went to meet Sergeant Shriver in Washington, and he said, we're looking for different states, Ohio, Texas, and North Carolina possibly. And I said, well, here are the benefits. And he said, if you can you got to raise a lot of money. If you can get $5 million up here next week to me, then we will give it to North Carolina. Let's just put your money where your mouth is. And you don't have to raise $35 million more. So I went to the biggest bank in North Carolina and asked him, and he said, we'll do that, thank you. I said, no, sir, we need a check right now. Would you think that like that?
Wow.
He said, I don't write checks. He got somebody to write me a check, and I flew back to Washington, gave it to Shriver, and all of a sudden, the world attention was on North Carolina to where the World Games. It's just an incredible experience to watch all these athletes from all over the world participate for a week and a half. So that's it brought North Carolina together. All these families around the world, they had to stay with, we didn't have the hotel facilities and all that, so they stayed with families all over North Carolina.
Wow.
So an athlete wouldn't just come, and that made it more personal.
Sure.
So it was just a wonderful thing for all of us.
And tell them about the airplanes, the planes.
So, to gather the American Special Olympians, we found out that a lot of them just aren't going to be able to get, or it's going to be difficult. So we arranged with of the Cessna Aircraft Company, and they said, we will do an event where we ask all Cessna owners in America if they would be willing to carry a Special Olympian to North Carolina. Bring that Olympian home. And the response was incredible. And so we had hundreds of planes that flew into North Carolina.
Wow.
And the FAA gave us a special call sign to let them land accordingly in a certain, from all over America. I mean, it was new in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, that's similar to the way wasn't Freedom Flight, Robin?
Yeah, the Freedom Flight.
That's how that program got started with people with small planes like that. The book is called Come On America. Mary Bogest is the author, and this is a book about Ambassador Stanley Dave Phillips, and his handsome photo is on the cover of the book. I think I have a copy. I do. I have a copy of the book, so if I have somebody who would like the book that was sent to me, just call, and I'll set it aside for you. I'll just pick somebody at random. But I found it on Amazon, so the rest of us can buy it on Amazon. Do you have a website? Mm-hmm. Do either of you have a website you'd like to share with us? Mary?
Yes, it's comeonamericabook.com.
Okay. And Ambassador, do you have a website or some other communication way?
That's it. There's lots of endorsements on there from a lot of, from like Mitt Romney, Tim Shriver, all kinds of endorsements on there. You can order the book through that website.
And
I'm embarrassed to tell you all, but I'm speaking to you on my flip-top phone.
Oh my gosh. One other interesting thing in your book is that your wife is a huge lover of animals.
Huge. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting here on this farm right now in our house, and she's got a zebra out with a new baby. Next to us, they got llamas and alpacas, and then right next to the house, she has two
that's cool.
beautiful bears that she's had for 25 years.
Well,
oh my gosh!
I just went to your website, Mary, and this is a well-done website. Really a nice-looking site, and I get to scroll through the pictures. I'm looking forward to looking at the videos. The website again is comeonamericabook.com, and you can get the book probably anywhere books are sold. Mary and Dave, thank you both for being on the air with us today. Good stuff.
Thank you for having us.
Very much.
Do you have candy? Do you have candy? If I come to your door and say trick or treat, will I get something?
All
right. We'll be right back.